What's up, poker players? Hope you guys are out there crushing the tables. Today we're going to do an analysis within the LeakBuster app in Hold'em Manager. I am currently running the complete analysis of the full ring games through my entire Hold'em Manager database. I might put a filter in there for the last several 100,000 hands, but this is something you need to be doing off the table so that you can be improving your game and improving your win rate. Once this is completed, we will look at the information and see exactly what it says I need to be improving on within my 9 max game. If you want this app for yourself, the link to Hold'em Manager is down in the video description. You can then purchase LeakBuster within the Hold'em Manager program. It's a great program. It really streamlines your analysis process and takes a lot of time out of it for you. The analysis is done. I ran a filter for after July 1st. So this is over the last 161,000 hands. It found 16 leaks, 34 potential leaks, got a grade of A+. Thank you for that. I don't know if I agree with it. I do have 3 leaks here within the critical range that I received F grades on. One being check calling all 3 streets, check calling middle or bottom pair on the turn, and calling flop c-bet raises. The advice it gives for check calling all 3 streets is that it should be done against the most aggressive opponents, and that if I'm doing this a lot, I'm probably not being aggressive enough myself, and that I should be mixing in more value bets instead of just check calling. One of the hands it gave, for example, is this one where we have ace king in the big blind, folds around to the hijack seat who open raises to 3x, and it comes to us where we 3-bet in the big blind to 550. The hijack calls. We see a flop of ace high, all clubs. We have the nut flush draw, the royal flush draw actually, and top pair, top kicker. I just check back and our opponent bets $8 and I call. The turn is the 8 of spades. Doesn't help out either of us. We check back and our opponent bets 17-26. I think the only hand that we are really losing to in this spot is going to be pocket queens. I just make a call on the turn. I think check raising might have been a good play there. I think either way we look at it, our chips are going to get in and we're going to wind up losing to a set of queens or possibly a set of tens. We're going to be splitting with ace king and we're going to be beating pocket jacks and missed flush draws. I don't think that was the best example. Let's take a look at one more within this. This time we have king 10 offsuit in the big blind. The hijack seat open raises to 2x, just a min raise, and we call. This is a recreational player, pretty fishy numbers so far, not a huge sample size, but we wind up flopping a 10. King kicker, pretty good hand against this type of player, and we check back and just make a call to a half pot size flop bet, and the turn is another 5, pairing the board. Check back again. I think this is a spot where we could have let out, protect ourselves against a lot of the draws that could be out there. It's a very draw heavy board. We've got flush draws, straight draws, so we check back and this player then bets 2/3 of the pot and we just call. And the river is a 4. Here I can see the check call because a lot of the draws did miss. We could probably get value from a lot of the 10s out there too. The only 10 hand we're losing to is ace 10 or possibly 10-7, 10-5 if that is within this player's range. Probably not though. And they bet 2/3 of the pot again and I make the call, wind up losing to the 5-3. They hit their third 5 on the turn. That was an interesting hand. I think if we lead out on the turn and we get raised, we can probably get rid of the king 10 and we protect ourselves against a lot of the draws that are out there. Probably not a huge leak within my game, but definitely a leak to look at and adjust to in the future. One of the other critical leaks would be check calling middle pair or bottom pair on the turn. It says that I should look into mixing in more betting or check folding in these marginal spots. Cannot argue with that. All right, here's a good example. We have ace 3 in the small blind, playing at a 50 NL table. Folds around to the hijack seat who limps. We complete and see a flop. Flop is 2-tone, 2 diamonds. We hit middle pair with the 3s. We have a nut flush draw. I remember this hand. It wasn't too long ago. We check back right here, and the hijack player bets half pot. The hijack player has pretty fishy numbers, recreational player, very high VPIP. So I check raise here, and the hijack player calls. The turn is the queen of hearts. This card probably didn't help much of his range, but we could also represent a very very strong range still and continuation bet here on the turn. So I think the check call here is a little bit too passive of a play and that I could have been betting. But we wind up hitting 2 pair on the river. A lot of the draws got there if this player could be playing something like a king jack, diamonds that could have been calling our check raise, a 4-5 diamonds. I mean, you really can't put too many hands out of this player's range because of the high VPIP. So I'm just going to check call the river, and this player bets huge. 3 times the pot, and I remember not wanting to call here, but it looked just so bluffy, especially from a fishy player with these numbers who doesn't show down well. I definitely should have... Now when looking back at this, I know I should have bet the turn. It probably would have wound up being the same result. This is pretty much just an unlucky spot that we got in, and we wind up losing a big pot here when we make the call with the ace 3, and we see a 5 deuce, you guys. This player called our check raise on the flop with bottom pair. That's not going to pan out very often for anyone making that type of play, but we did wind up losing a big pot, and we found a spot where we probably should have been betting instead of check calling. Now let's look at some spots where we are calling flop c-bet raises. The advice LeakBuster gives us is that we shouldn't be doing this against really passive opponents. When you're not finding folds against passive opponents, when you have a good but not great hand, is really a bankroll killer. If you have a reasonable hand, but there are a lot of scare cards that could come on the later streets to make difficult decisions, you should be looking to either fold or raise and get your hands in now. Let's look at some of the spots where we were calling flop c-bet raises. We are at a 100 NL table. We have ace queen suited, hearts in the small blind. The button limps, fishy player, and we have a fishy player to our left. And I bet $6 here with the ace queen, and we get a call from the big blind as well as the button. Wind up flopping the nut flush draw as well as 2 overcards. I also remember this hand not too long ago. I lead out for 2/3 of the pot, and we get called by the big blind, and we get raised by the button. This is one of those spots where I could probably get it all in right here, but I also see this player to my left, and I think when we call, we can get this player to call as well, and possibly get in a 3-way pot with the nuts. I'm not really opposed to that, and isolating out this player against this player. So I don't think this is the greatest example. It just didn't wind up well for us. We were a 45% favorite on the flop, and we're just adding dead money when we allow this player to get in. You know, he's getting it in with bottom pair right here and a gut shot. He now takes the lead though with 2 pair. We only have 33 behind us. We now have 2 straight draws for the nuts as well. This was a crazy hand. We get it in here on the turn, and we get called, brick the river, and wind up losing a giant pot with a huge draw that misses. Let's take a look at one more. This time we have pocket kings, middle position, 100 NL table. It folds around to us, and we open raise to 3x, and we get called by the button and the big blind. Flop is queen high, rainbow. I lead out for half pot, and we get min raised by the button player. And this is one of those spots where I do think that I should have gotten rid of it. I actually remember this hand as well. This is a very passive player who probably wouldn't be doing this with many hands. They have won 63% of showdowns when raising on the flop. I think this is a pretty easy fold for the kings. Not quite sure why I made the call here, but I did, essentially pot committing ourselves. And then I go into passive mode where I'm check calling the whole way down. Actually, I check raise the turn, and another spot we're probably only going to get called with better hands than us. So I think I played this hand completely wrong and probably just should have made the fold on the flop. A lot of times when there is a min bet, those hands are going to be very strong, you guys. Big mistake. We have outs to a king going into the river, miss. Don't like that hand one bit. Definitely a leak. Let's look at some of the important leaks, but not critical leaks. LeakBuster says that we're losing too many hands with small pairs, 2s to 6s from the cutoff. It suggests that we turn some of these low pairs into bluffs, but that we shouldn't look to bluff bad opponents who cannot make folds. In this example, we have pocket 3s in the cutoff. There is a min raise from under the gun +1. We get a call to our right. We just make a call as well, and we see a flop of 2-tone, 2 hearts, 2 jacks on the board. The under the gun +1 player leads out for 4, and we elect to just fold here. With the call to our right, that is a little scary as well. That player could be calling with a jack. I don't think this is the best example. I think the correct play was a fold here. I we'll take a look at one more hand, see if we can't find one. Again, we have pocket threes in the cutoff. Under the gun +1. Open raises to 2x. We get 2 calls in between, and we make a call as well. See a flop of 10 high rainbow. The under the gun +2 player bets half pot. This is a very aggressive player, but also doesn't fold much to re-raises. So I don't think a good spot to be 3-betting here. I do just make a fold, which I think is the correct play. Again, not the best example. I'm not really finding any crazy hands within this mistake, but it's definitely something I should be looking at and keeping an eye on. The next one on the list is that I am currently not 3-betting or re-stealing often enough from the small blind. This one actually used to be in my critical leak category, so I must have been improving on it since we last did this review, which is a good sign. I do know that I have been working on this portion of my game, which is very important and you must be doing as you're moving up in limits, because players are going to be playing more aggressively in the later positions and trying to pick up blinds on you. This one actually shows you a video of ways that you can defend your blinds. Again, head down to the video description if you guys are not using Hold'em Manager or Leak Buster. Click through the link to Hold'em Manager. You can get a 30-day free trial membership, and you can also get Leak Buster, I believe, for a free trial. Leak Buster is available within the Hold'em Manager program. Hit that subscribe button if you guys have not subscribed yet. I hope you guys are all learning from some of the mistakes that I'm making on the table and poker advice that I'm giving you within these videos. I know we can all be improving our game, so click that subscribe button and join this community, and let's all improve our game and work on these things together. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Share this video or channel with any of your poker friends. Stay tuned for the new videos coming out very soon, but until then, I'll see you guys out on the virtual felt.